This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
The Stone Zone on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You are now entering the Stone Zone. Well, President Donald Trump finally made his move. For many weeks, people had trouble understanding what he was trying to say about the so-called Jeffrey Epstein scandal. He insisted the whole thing was a hoax, that it was the handiwork of his enemies who had structured the Russian collusion hoax on the American people. I now finally understand what he is saying. All of the important records pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein have been in the control of the New York Southern District of New York federal prosecutors, a nest of Trump-hating liberal Democrats, or the New York office of the FBI, equally corrupt. And therefore, the president correctly perceived that it would be very easy for any of those entities both to destroy some records that are epically embarrassing to Democrats, but also to drop some poison pills in there, some false allegations against Trump. I now know what he's been saying. I'm pretty good at deciphering Trump speak, but he has called their bluff. President Donald Trump has now announced that he's authorizing Attorney General Pam Bondi to instruct the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, an interim U.S. Attorney appointed by President Trump, to go into federal court and ask for the unsealing of all of the evidence filed against Epstein in 2019 when he was indicted on two charges, a charge of child sex trafficking and a charge of conspiring to engage in child sex trafficking. I'm gratified that the president listened to my remarks last weekend in Tampa. Let's give a listen.
The solution to this issue, because I too favor full disclosure, and I want to know everything about this case, is for President Trump to direct his Attorney General, to direct the interim U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, to move to unseal all of the grand jury testimony that was presented when the Trump administration charged Jeffrey Epstein with child sex trafficking and conspiracy to conduct child sex trafficking. And while they're at it, they should unseal the search warrants for his island as well as his palatial home in Manhattan, which are sealed at the request or the motion of prosecutor Maureen Comey. Everything you want to know is in those documents. It is the Trump administration, not the Biden administration, certainly not the Obama administration, that moved in federal court to bring Jeffrey Epstein to justice.
President Trump has, of course, now, at his direction, Attorney General Pam Bondi has fired Maureen Comey. Maureen Comey is the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, one of the chief plotters of the Russian collusion hoax. National Director of Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard announced today that she had declassified additional documents proving the conspiracy that was sparked in an Oval Office by Barack Obama, but included Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, Deputy Assistant Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, Clinton campaign manager John Podesta, and many others in the greatest single dirty trick in American history, the Russian collusion hoax. And now, giving greater credibility to the president's claim that the Epstein evidence in New York has been corrupted, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, who is very ably leading the investigation and hearings looking into the disclosures regarding the murder of President John F. Kennedy, has said that she has been approached by an FBI whistleblower who has documented the destruction of evidence in New York by some in the FBI on the Epstein case. So once again, Trump has turned out to be right. And incredibly, we have actually seen the first poison pill. The News Corporation, the Wall Street Journal, has published what appears to be a birthday card, but it's been called a love letter allegedly from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein on the occasion of his birthday. I've known Donald Trump for 50 years. He's never sent me a drawing. I've never seen him even doodle. The words don't even sound like him. How coincidental that this piece of information, which supposedly comes from the records that are maintained in New York, is leaked to Rupert Murdoch, the same Rupert Murdoch who owns the News Corporation, which owns the Wall Street Journal, as well as Fox News. Rupert Murdoch so hates Donald Trump that he paid Governor Ron DeSantis several $1 million for an advance on a book which didn't sell any copies to speak of, in what really is an outright bribe to get him into the race for president. He also, because Tucker Carlson is a good friend of mine, he also offered to finance a campaign for Tucker Carlson if he would challenge Trump. Carlson had no interest. This letter, or this card, whatever it may be, this drawing, this is a fugazi, folks. This betrayal by the News Corporation from Murdoch should not come as any surprise. It's been widely reported that Rupert Murdoch and his neo-baby heirs have hated Donald Trump for years. This is why they refuse to even deal with the question of potential election fraud after the 2020 election. It's why they fired Tucker Carlson. This incident has also prompted President Trump to move more quickly to release the Epstein grand jury testimony that will show more details about this elitist pedophile operation run by Jeffrey Epstein. That Trump and Epstein knew each other is not in dispute, but the truth is Trump completely cut Epstein off prior to Epstein being exposed as a predator and being charged in Florida, which ended up as one count of a solicitation. The Palm Beach police chief, after conducting a 6-month undercover investigation of Epstein, based on several tips, turned over to the state's attorney an airtight case for child sex trafficking that involved 33 underage women, and also an accompanying case for statutory rape. The prosecutor was shocked when the charge filed was for one count of solicitation. Trump banned Epstein from all of his properties, including Mar-a-Lago, banned him from his life. The Clintons, however, continued to socialize with Epstein. They took a $25,000 check from him, a contribution, between the time that he was charged, but before he agreed to plead guilty to one slap-on-the-wrist charge. Bill Clinton was on the Lolita Express 26 times, a number of times without his Secret Service detail. He's denied being on the island, but sworn testimony that I've read from 2 victims who sued Epstein insisted that he was not only on the island, he was seen on the island. He was there multiple times. Democrats like Jamie Raskin and others who are now jumping up and down demanding the Epstein's list, I think are going to be sorely disappointed when that list, as far as politics is concerned, is virtually all Democrats. I don't know of any Republicans who went to Epstein's island. It is laughable to go on X and say, oh, Roger Stone was seen on the island. We knew it was him, even though he was wearing a bull mask, because we could tell from the Nixon tattoo on his back. And this is attributed to some anonymous source on Fortran. I've said before, I'll say again, if anyone wants to make that claim and attach their real name to it, I will bring a legal action. I'm the first major author in the country to expose Epstein. His little black book, the FAA manifest of those who were on his plane, all disclosed in my book, The Clintons' War on Women, way back in 2015. The most extensive coverage of Epstein. I named names as to who was on the island. U.S. Senator George Mitchell, the majority leader of the Senate, Democrat. Bill Richardson, the governor of New Mexico, Democrat. Larry Summers, Treasury Secretary to Bill Clinton, Democrat. So I'm pleased the president has made this important decision, and I look forward to seeing whether a federal judge in New York agrees to unseal these documents. The chances are overwhelming that a judge in New York will be a Democrat. Let's see how anxious the Democrats really are to have this information unsealed. They've been insisting Trump is hiding something this week. We now know that they tried their first poison pill, this fugazi of a card that doesn't even sound like Trump. And of course, it says something like, happy birthday, many more years of sharing our little secret. Come on. It's a fraud, and it's an obvious fraud. Speaking of the Wall Street Journal has now attacked housing chief Bill Pulte. Bill Pulte is the chairman of the Federal Housing Finance Agency. He is the one who figured out that New York Attorney General Letitia James has engaged in a 22-year crime spree, multiple mortgage fraud crimes, which have been covered well here in the Stone Zone. It is not political retaliation. The Attorney General should be subject to the same laws that you and I are. If I did what she did, I'd be in jail right now. Remember, she charged Donald Trump with allegedly inflating the value of his assets so he could borrow money for his real estate construction projects. So everybody got paid back. In fact, those who lent the money made $40 million in interest. But Letitia James has $586,000 worth of mortgages, including two that she did not report to the state as required by law, on a property that is appraised at $125,000. She also applied for a mortgage in Virginia, getting a lower rate because she said it would be owner-occupied. But she cannot declare Virginia as her principal residence and serve as Attorney General of New York based on New York state law. So Pulte is the federal official who uncovered this. He sent a formal letter of referral to the Department of Justice. We'll see if Letitia James is prosecuted, as she should be. The Wall Street Journal now has attacked Pulte because Pulte has been an articulate critic of disgraced Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Powell stoutly refuses to cut interest rates on the American people, even though the two criteria for doing so, inflation and unemployment today, are lower than they were the last 4 times the Federal Reserve cut interest rates. He's correctly called him Jerome Let Them Eat Cake Powell. Powell's under fire because at the same time he refuses to cut interest rates on the average American who's trying to buy a car or a motorcycle or trying to purchase a home. He is overseeing a $2.5 billion renovation to what is already a palatial headquarters in Washington, D.C. Pulte, who comes from a home building family, says, I don't know how you could spend $2.5 billion. Now, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna has referred Powell to the Justice Department because it appears that Powell also lied about this under oath to the Congress. You're tuned in to the Stone Zone. I'm Roger Stone. We'll be right back with more political news. Wherever you do, don't touch that dial.
The Stone Zone on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Stone Zone. Billionaire Elon Musk has come out in defense of President Donald Trump. He saw the story in the Wall Street Journal that claimed that Trump sent a birthday message to pedophile elitist Jeffrey Epstein, and the billionaire Musk says it doesn't sound like Trump, it doesn't look real. He's absolutely right. I've known Trump for 50 years. He doesn't doodle. This is, of course, the same Wall Street Journal that has Federal Housing and Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte in a hit piece this week. They call him Little Trump, stating that his anti-Powell advocacy is bad for the mortgage industry and rankling certain Trump officials. This is a planted article. I happen to know the president is quite pleased with the fact that Pulte is publicly questioning why the Federal Reserve Board will not cut interest rates on the American people when the two indicators that by law they're supposed to go by, inflation and unemployment, are both at the same level or lower than they were the last four times the Federal Reserve cut rates. So I guess if we weren't sure that Pulte was on the right side of history, we're sure now, because he's being attacked by a globalist periodical that exists only to prop up the big finance status quo and those whose benefactors clearly intimidated by Trump's America First trade and immigration policies. It's not just Bill Pulte who wants Powell ousted at the Federal Reserve. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna of Florida issued a criminal referral against Powell over his insanely profligate $2.5 billion renovation, but more specifically over the lies he told to the Senate when being grilled by Senator Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming in a sworn federal testimony. Powell specifically said the plan does not include a private elevator for the board governors, does not include a private dining room, does not include more marble, more fountains, an opulent roof garden. But sadly for him, the plans, which can be found online, have all of those things. So is Jerome Powell above the law, or will he be held to the letter of the law like every other American? Perhaps the moniker of Little Trump is well earned after all. Powell is a nervous wreck. A number of the federal board governors, sources tell me, believe it's time to cut rates. I'm told he looks terrible. This guy is purposely undermining Trump's efforts to make this economy boom. Bill Pulte is right. He should step down. If he's not stepped down, the president should consider firing. I'm not sure. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure the president has the authority to fire him. But in this fight, I'm with Bill Pulte. He's a truth teller fighting for lower interest rates for the American people. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Stone Zone here on the Red Apple Audio Networks, and we'll be back with more of the hottest political stories. Please stay tuned in. We'll be right back.
The Stone Zone on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So we're welcome back into the Stone Zone. This a little more detail, just breaking. Representative Anna Paulina Luna now says she's in touch with a whistleblower who has confirmed her fears that the evidence in the Jeffrey Epstein pedophile case has been tampered with or destroyed. Luna is the leader of a House task force focused on declassifying government records. She's actually introduced the Stopping High-Level Record Elimination and Destruction Act, also known as SHRED, and she is demanding an investigation into whether the records controlled by the Southern District of New York and by the FBI in New York have been compromised. Amazing that she has not only led the charge on the investigation into John F. Kennedy's murder, but she has now jumped into both the fight over Jerome Powell allegedly lying under oath to Congress about his renovations of his $2.5 billion renovation of his headquarters. But she now has confirmed our worst fears. When President Trump says the Epstein thing is a hoax, he's not saying that Epstein wasn't involved in child sex trafficking. His Justice Department charged Jeffrey Epstein with that. What he's saying is the handling of these records is a hoax, and he is absolutely right. It's interesting also, under Luna's leadership, the Central Intelligence Agency recently, after 6 decades of insisting that they had no previous knowledge of Lee Harvey Oswald, the alleged killer of President John F. Kennedy, finally turned over records that proved that they were tracking Oswald, that they were reading all of his communications. In essence, they were handling him. George Joannides, using an alias, was Oswald's handler. They maneuvered Oswald into a street scuffle in New Orleans, where he was supposed to do a televised debate over Castro and Cuba to try to position him narrative-wise as a communist. This was part of the setup for the Warren Commission conclusions. Strangely enough, the anti-Castro flyers that Oswald was passing out, which caused a scuffle with some patriots, had on them the address of Guy Bannister, the office address for Bannister. The scuffle took place right outside Bannister's office, but Bannister is a known FBI asset. Also interesting, handing out flyers that were pro-Castro with Lee Harvey Oswald was Rafael Angel Cruz. That's the father of Senator Ted Cruz. Doesn't prove, by the way, that Cruz or Oswald killed Kennedy. It shows that Cruz was working in the CIA. And Judith Vary Baker, who is the longtime mistress of Lee Harvey Oswald, confirmed that, yeah, everybody knew Angel Cruz. So when that came out during the 2016 campaign and Ted Cruz went completely nuts, it's because it was true, not because it was false. Now we hear that the city of Los Angeles is turning into such a hellscape under liberal rule that its wealthy citizens need to embrace more libertarian free market solutions such as private policing to fend off vagabonds and to keep their homes safe. A new app called Patrol is available in communities like Bel Air, Beverly Hills, and Malibu. It allows off-duty officers to make extra money by getting booked to protect specific homes and communities throughout the region. This is an ingenious solution to government failure, but it's outrageous that California is one of the most highly taxed states in the country. The residents there are already paying for police protection, but sadly, they are not getting it. Hopefully, this new app and this new service will keep a few conservatives who have not yet escaped the area safe and more secure. It's only a matter of time before the left comes after apps like Patrol, claiming that they fuel inequality and they make the police less accountable. See, that's the thing about liberals. They must destroy everything in their path and leave people no recourse except to succumb to the mob. This is how it's gone down in all countries besieged by Marxism and socialists. And believe me, it can happen in New York as well, particularly if Zoran Mamdani, I call him the Ayatollah, becomes mayor. The Ayatollah is not shy about telling you that he's going to raise taxes on white people. His words, not mine. He's tried to back off of that, but that's what he said. He says that violence is a social construct. No, I think violence is very dangerous. That's an implication that he would just throw the doors at Rikers Island open and release all those hardened criminals. He's already admits he wants to defund the police, do away with cash bail, plus raising taxes on every middle-class taxpayer, raising taxes on business. He wants to put grocery stores out of business. He's going to open community food communes where you can go get your groceries, but only if you have a social credit card, social credit score card. I believe you'll be able to buy groceries. This guy is very dangerous. He's a Marxist. He's an anti-Semite. Recently, we learned that the head socialist in the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders, met recently with Mamdani to tell him he needs to tone down his anti-Semitism, at least through the election. They know that they're busted. In the meantime, we understand that an illegal immigrant has been accused of faking an ICE kidnapping in order to solicit donations from gullible liberals online. Uriana Julia Pelez Calderon, a 41-year-old illegal living in South Los Angeles, has been hit with federal charges over faking her kidnapping, allegedly in a fast food restaurant parking lot. Calderon then held a press conference with her leftist lawfare attorney, weeping and telling a sob story to the media in hopes of scamming donations. Of course, the fake news seized upon the story, reported it without doing any further investigation in order to generate headlines against Trump. So many of these stories about the arrest of illegal immigrants are exaggerated or fabricated in order to generate more anti-Trump venom. These stories then galvanize radicalized leftists and Mandami supporters to commit acts of terror against ICE agents and other law enforcement officials. Calderon might be a good candidate for the first illegal sent to Alcatraz, the alligator Alcatraz, so a swift example could be made of her to prevent more of these irresponsible hoaxes from taking place, putting the lives of police officers and law enforcement officers and those who work for ICE in danger. Meanwhile, Tulsi Gabbard, I think she is the standout, one of the standouts in President Trump's cabinet. She was subjected to a vicious hit piece today in the Washington Examiner, and then when I looked at who authored it, was one of the guys who claimed that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, that Iraq had been involved in the 9/11 attack on America, justifying a war in which thousands of Americans and hundreds of thousands of Iraqis died. But National Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has announced that she's ready to declassify more documents that shed light on the Russiagate hoax to keep crooks like John Brennan and James Comey ready to face justice. Clearly, FBI Director Kash Patel has announced that an investigation into Comey, Brennan, Rosenstein, Susan Rice et al. Is underway. And because it is a conspiracy investigation, there is no 5-year limit, statute of limitations, although I think the charge should be treason. Now, just a week ago, CIA Director John Ratcliffe released a report that absolutely nailed the fact that former CIA Director John Brennan, an admitted communist, the guy who, as the CIA station chief in Riyadh, signed off on the visas of 4 of the Saudis who were among the hijackers who attacked America on 9/11, the same John Brennan who got caught spying on a U.S. Senate committee that was investigating his use of illegal torture by the CIA, the same John Brennan who FBI counterterrorism chief John Guandolo insists converted to radical Islam, actually Wahhabism, in an ornate ceremony when he was stationed in Riyadh. That John Brennan insisted that the fake Steele dossier claims be included in the intelligence community report to President Barack Obama. At the time that Radcliffe, the CIA director, released this report, it was reported that House Intelligence Chief Rick Crawford was furious because he believed that this version of events was very shallow, that there was far, far more to the duplicity of Brennan, Comey, Biden, Hillary Clinton, Podesta et al., and that his report, which still requires additional declassification, with which he's been working closely with the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was a much, much deeper dive and much more damaging to the hoaxsters. So there must be many sphincters out there that are tightening in the Obama and Biden administrations, as Gabbard seems to me to be the one of the few Trump officials who nobody can doubt is serious about unearthing these new disclosures. Nowhere you can run and hide at this point. These spooks did the crime, and now they better get ready to do the time, because I think this is coming. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett God, I love her. I just hope she keeps talking because she's the new face of the once great Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy and Harry Truman. See, the Democrat Party that I grew up with, they actually believed in free enterprise. They believed in capitalism. They believed in God. They believed in a strong national defense. It seems that that Democrat Party no longer exists. A Democrat Party in which Senator Chuck Schumer is considered too conservative to be in the Senate shows you how far left they have shifted. But now Jasmine Crockett is proving once again that she has a room temperature IQ during congressional hearings, insisted that Sesame Street should continue to be funded in Iraq through USAID. I talked about this earlier on the Greg Kelly show. USAID was not ever approved by the Congress. It was set up by President John F. Kennedy. It had a legitimate purpose. It was to support governments in Central and South America who were struggling to resist communist takeovers. But it has morphed into a slush fund for the radical left. And Donald Trump and his allies have zeroed it out. Crockett claims that by funding Sesame Street in Iraq, it will serve to show the people of Iraq, particularly children, that this is that we here in the Western world are not warped, and therefore she claims it will stop Iraqis from being radicalized against us. She, of course, offered no proof to support this extremely bizarre claim. Democrats have been melting down about the possibility of losing the slush fund, with a Senate vote on the matter being expected hopefully sometime today or perhaps Monday. USAID has become infamous because of its ridiculous funding priorities. They are wasting millions of dollars in from the taxpayers on countless laughable woke initiatives. I mean, I don't want to say anything, but Jasmine Crockett makes Maxine Waters look like a Rhodes Scholar. It is embarrassing that she and AOC are the face of the new Democrat Party. I fear for my friends in New York, but as long as the New York mayor's race continues to be a four-person race, I don't see the possibility of redemption. A new poll by Kaplan and Associates showed former Mayor Eric Adams running in fourth place, but more importantly, it showed that Adams had a net unfavorable rating of 68% among all New York voters. This was a survey of 1,000 likely voters. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo's unfavorables clocked in at 57%, whereas Mandami's are at 38%. Not enough voters yet know what this guy really stands for other than hope and change. And Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa clocked in his unfavorables at a net 43% lower than the other two candidates other than the Ayatollah Mandami. I would love to see Curtis Sliwa win. I think he's in it to win it. I'll say right now, if this guy wins the mayor's race, I'll start wearing a red beret everywhere I go. You're tuned in to the Roger Stone Show here on the Red Apple Audio Networks. Please don't go away. We'll be right back with more hot political news on the other side.
The Stone Zone on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Stone Zone. You remember Congressman, now Senator Adam Shifty Schiff. Some call him Pencil Neck. I think that's President Trump. Others call him Watermelon Head. He is, without any question, the single most corrupt, congenital liar, huckster, and con man, perhaps in congressional history. He's the guy who said that he had seen more than circumstantial evidence of Russian collusion in the 2016 election. Of course, he never produced anything of the kind. He also illegally violated House rules and the law by leaking my sworn testimony within minutes of my finishing my testimony, he predicted that I would be charged with lying for Congress, which of course he could not possibly know. I didn't know at the time that in violation of the law, the Mueller prosecutors who had obtained all of my emails had shared them with Congressman Schiff so they could fashion gotcha questions that were immaterial. It was a total and complete setup. That was Adam Schiff. Schiff is now upset because federal regulators have determined that Schiff has conducted mortgage fraud, much like New York Attorney General Letitia James. He claimed his condominium in Burbank, which is in his district, was his principal legal residence, therefore getting a lower mortgage rate and insurance rate. But he claimed that his home in Maryland was also his principal legal residence, thus getting a lower mortgage and insurance rate on that home. This is a vile, typical fraud. But the real question is, will Adam Schiff be held accountable? Or are there two separate sets of rules here, one for the elite and one for the rest of us? No wonder that the latest polling shows the approval rating for Democrats in Congress is under 20%. A Quinnipiac University poll shows that Democrats in Congress have dropped to a new record low when it comes to popularity. They're down to 19% of Americans approving of the job they're doing. The poll also showed that a majority of Democrat voters, 52% of them, disapprove of what the party is doing in Congress. Comparatively, 33% of voters approve of Republicans in Congress, while 77% of Republican voters support their party's actions and agenda. After the findings of the survey were released, Quinnipiac University's polling analyst Tim Malloy said, if the approval numbers for Republicans are bad, then the approval numbers for the Democrats can be summarized as flat out terrible. Well, this is because Democrats continue to embrace a radicalism in the voting booth and a demand for terror to be inflicted upon their political opponents. It's really not surprising. I doubt the Democrats can recover any of the lost trust from the general public anytime soon. Republicans have an incredible opportunity to build on Trump's victory, in 2024 if they don't find some way to screw it up. I understand why President Trump is frustrated by those who just want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. We have a record Dow. Inflation is at historic lows. They all told us that Trump's fight for tariff equality and better trade deals would cause epic inflation, but that turns out to be completely wrong. Inflation is completely under control. We have stopped illegal border crossings. The dollar is strong. America is on its way back to a golden age, an unprecedented age of peace, prosperity, security, justice, and law and order. Thanks for joining us today in the Stone Zone. Until we meet again, God bless you and Godspeed.
The Stone Zone on the Red Apple Podcast Network.